Hello, and welcome to the first episode in this series on Pedro strategy. So we're going to be discussing calling/bidding. This already assumes a decent amount of knowledge of the game of Pedro, at least just the rules. And specifically here we're doing the Pedro, I think it's pronounced that, variant, P-I-D-R-O, from Finland. Terminology. So we're going to be using non-standard language. You're expected to have some familiarity with the game already, but you can use the glossary below. So yeah, calling is what is often called bidding. So this is the stage before you actually play the cards, where you have to sort of guess how many points your team is going to get. Stall is a hand long enough that you keep a valuable card in it. So for example, if you had a 6-card hand that had a 5 in it, you would keep that 5 because everyone else would run out of cards beforehand. A spare is a card that's not worth any points. So like 3, 4, 6, 9. A power hand is a hand with ace and other consecutive high cards. So like ace, king, queen. Notation. So hands may be written in algebraic Pedro notation. Number cards are notated with their number, except 10, denoted by T. And letter cards are represented by the first letter of their word. So A is ace, K is king, etc. Wrong 5 is represented by 5 star. There are no characters or spaces separating the cards. So a little exercise. Translate these hands into the notation. Here's the answers. So the rules, I'm not going to go through them here because you are expected to already be familiar. But in case you're not sure about the specific variant, you can find the rules on this website here, pedrochallenge.fi. I'll link it in the description. The point cards are ace, jack and 10, all worth 1 point. 5 and wrong 5, where the wrong 5 is the 5 of the 5 from the same colour suit as the suit that's called, also known as the trump suit, I think, in other games. And to be clear, the right 5 claims the wrong 5. And then 2 is worth 1 point, but it can't be claimed.
What's the most important card in Pedro? The ace, right? Not only because it's the highest value card, but also because it's a 3-point, and it is the only card in Pedro which you should call with by itself. Don't do it with the king, too risky. Don't do it with the 2, you're not going to get anything. Do not call with just your 5s. They are not worth 5 points. They are, but you're not getting them, right? Ace, though, will get you points. Let's see why. This is going to be a simplified example of how ace can get you 6 points total. 1 from the ace, 5 from the 5, from your teammate's hand having a 5, right? We've got a little table here to represent different scenarios. We'll have, when we go down, separate scenarios, and here's our players represented by the Joker card, because Pedro players are clowns. Right, first scenario, opponent 1. Oh yeah, here we've got opponent 1, teammate 1, opponent 2. Opponent 1 gets both 5s. That sucks. We can't do anything with that. Teammate 1 gets both 5s. Oh, very nice. Let's give that scenario a little tick. Opponent 2 gets both 5s. No tick. But now we're on to a little more complex scenarios. Opponent 1 and teammate 1 both get 1 5. This is going to count as 2 scenarios though, because we've got 2 different 5s, right? We can either have right 5 here, wrong 5 here, or wrong 5 here, right 5 here. So let's just do a little times 2 here. Our teammate does in fact have a 5, so let's give this a tick. You know what? Let's give it 2 ticks for that times 2. So we've got 2 ticks here, 1 tick here so far. Right. Next scenario, 1 5 on each opponent. Because we've still got the double 5 sort of rule, we're still going to multiply this by 2. We've got 2 different scenarios happening. Right 5 here, wrong 5 here, wrong 5 here, right 5 here. We don't get any 5s there. Last scenario, 1 here, 1 here. We do get a 5 from this. This is also a times 2. Let's give ourselves 2 ticks. So in total, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 scenarios. And in how many of them do we get the 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, in 5 scenarios out of 9, we get the 5 with our ace from our teammate. And that's just the sort of base probability. Of course, there's extra probabilities on top of that. Like, opponent's busting. But just this by itself is about 56%. So I feel like it's a pretty safe bet to call with your ace. Okay, let's do some hand analysis with the ace. First thing I'm going to put with the ace is a 2. If ace was 6, or if ace was 7, then 2 is always going to bump your call up by 1. Very, very few exceptions. You can nearly always bank on your 2. Your 2 is always going to get the point. Ace gets guaranteed point, 2 gets guaranteed point, that's 2 points. Unless you fumble your hand about, drop the 2, opponent picks it up. But if you don't have slippery hands, trust your 2 and your ace. So if calling A with ace, 6, throw the 2 on there, easy 7, right? Next hand. Ace, jack, 4. Okay. This, we're obviously thinking about 6 points from the ace. Actually, let's take the 4 away for now. Ace and jack. This is a very common error with some players. Although the jack is 1 point, you're not always going to get it, right? Let's say you play the ace, right? Ace gets you 6 points. You play a jack. What's your jack going to do? It's going to get eaten up by a king or a queen. And say bye-bye to your 7th point. Get out of here. Okay, let's do some hand analysis. 2. It's always going to bump your call up by 1. You don't need to worry about it. Ace 2, we're going to go from a 6 to a 7. Ace King 2, we're going to go from whatever you'd call it with Ace King to whatever you'd call it with Ace King 2, up by 1. Something like Ace Queen. Ace Queen, I think, is a 7 hand. I'll explain later. 2 makes it an 8. It's a very nice hand. So now that we understand the 2, let's move on to the next point card. The jack. The jack is a more interesting case than the 2 because it's not a guaranteed point and it's also fairly high. Let's put the ace with it. What do you call with this? Well, we know ace is 6 points, right? Usually. We'll look at the exceptions later. Ace is going to be 6 points. Jack, oh, it's 1 point. Let's call 7. Foolish, right? Foolish why? Let's explain this. You play your ace. Let's say you get lucky with your 6 points. Boom, 6 points. Jack, let's get the 7th. No. You're going to get claimed by a king or a queen from your opponents. Goodbye. Goodbye call. Goodbye 7 points. However, if we throw a, let's say a 4 in there. This could be any stall card, but I've chosen 4 for now. This is a more interesting case because ace 6 points, jack 7 points, but now we've got some more cards to facilitate it. The way I'd play this is bet on me getting a 4th card. Because if I don't get this 4th card, we're back in some bit of a itchy scenario where we've got play ace, play our 4. Let's assume king or queen goes out. We've still got the other of the 2. If king went out on our 4, we've still got queen to deal with. Jack still goes. That's why we need our 4th card. If we raise a 4th card into our hand, this hand becomes a 7 hand. So usually, if I'm feeling risky, or I'm feeling lucky, I'm calling 7 with this. Next hand. Let's look at a classic hand type. 5. And just a load of nonsense. 2's good though. Right. What would you call with this hand? 2, 3, 4, 5. Is it good enough to be a stall? I don't think so. 2 gets a point. We've got 4 turns for the 5 to get a point. But hold on. 4 turns is just about not enough. Someone else is going to be alive for 4 turns. And chances are they're going to leave something big for last. That's why we're going to want to, if we're calling with a 5 in our hand, we're going to want 5 cards. Let's put the jack in, right? Jack, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fantastic hand. I'd love to call with this because We've already got 4 cards to facilitate the jack's point. The 2 gets a point, and we've got 5 cards to facilitate the 5's point. So our call is going to be 7. However, there's some caveats now. I took the jack out for an ace. Ace, 2, 3, 4, 5. Got a flush. Right. Ace is 6 points. Ace is 6 points. 2 is 7 points. 5, we've got enough cards to facilitate the 5. 11 points. 12 points. No, definitely not. Because let's go back on why the ace is 6 points. The ace is 6 points because our teammate could have either 5. But now we've limited our teammate to having only one possible 5, which is the right 5 in this scenario, because we've got the wrong one. This takes off probability from 56% down to 33%. We can't be calling with that. Ace is not getting you a 5. The 5 will get you a 5 because we've got enough cards. But this, I think, is... I say an 8 hand. Because we're getting our 5 point, we're getting our 2 point. The ace, now that the ace isn't doing the job of claiming a 5, we can focus the ace on the 10 or the jack to get another point. Speaking of the 10 is more of a curious case than the jack. Because the 10 is the 5th highest card, not the 4th. Because jack was the 4th, we could play it on our 4th turn, assuming ace, king, queen, or out. That would be not a crazy bet to make. But 10, we need to be on our 5th turn to play the 10. Most players don't get to their 5th turn. Most rounds don't even get to a 5th turn. So we can't really bet on having a 5 card hand for 10. If we have a 5 card hand and you have the 10, go ahead, add an extra point to your hand. But issues come when we have a regular hand. Ace, 4, 10, 2. You can bet on getting your 5th card. It's not going to happen. 3 cards, I don't even think the 10's a point anymore. It's not worth... I think the 10 is more of a deficit to your hand, honestly. At least that's how I believe the 10 to work. This will be 7, but we're never getting this point. Because unless our teammate pops king, pops queen on our, 2nd turn. Okay, the 10, even though it's a point card, gets very little action. Alright, let's look back at the stalls. Let's say we have 5. And we also have another 5. Right? And these guys. Right? The thing with 2 5s is now you've got a 5 card hand. The average hand length is going to be lower. So are we going to bank on them having no 4 card hands? We can't do that. It's way too risky. There'll always be a 4 card hand. There'll always be someone, usually, who's going to outlive you. Not outlive you, but outlive you until you're 5. And then your whole hand's nonsense. You're done. Let's add a 10 in there. Just for fun. Usually, as usual, I don't think the 10's getting a point. But it's padded out our hand enough so that our 5s are very safe behind this wall of stall. And the 2, which gets you 1 point. So with this hand, I would call 11. But the 10, I don't think I'd normally get the 10, but I've got a whole 4 rounds to find an opportunity to get the 10. If ace is out, then our teammate could have the king. King's out, teammate could have the queen. At some point, I think I'd get this 10. So I'd call 12 with this hand. 5, 5, 2, 3, 4, 10. Right. Let's swap this out for the ace. Does this change anything? We've still got our stall of the 5s. Ace now has no chances of getting the 5 from our teammate. So we're counting it as 1 point. Sad, sad ace. Same value as the 2 now. 5, 5, 1, 2. 12 points. Oh, we've got the ace. The 10 or the jack's going down. Right. I believe that this, even though there's no king, no queen, no jack, no 10, this is a 13 hand. You don't see it very often, but it's a 13 hand. Right. Now onto some more uncommon hand types. Right. Stuff with the king. Stuff with the queen. These two are sort of overshadowed by the ace in every single round. So you're going to need a lot of padding in these hands if you want to get any points. If we have a hand like this, king, queen, three, what do we think they're getting? So we've got the next two highest cards after ace. I doubt the ace gets both fives. It's very, very rare. That needs some nonsense to have happened on the first round. So we can assume that one of these guys is getting a 5. Let's add 5 to our call. We can also assume that one of these guys is getting the jack or the 10, because someone's going to be bust third turn, and third turn, our 3 is going to be out, our queen's going to be out. We're going to have the king. We're going to get another point from that. Chances are. So I'd hold this hand at just 6, even though it looks so good. It's not good enough. What else could we do to this hand? We swap the 3 out for the 10. This becomes a very interesting scenario because we've buffed our hand, but, right, we've caused an issue for our king and queen. Our king and queen were banking on getting a jack or a 10. Now the 10's here. So this is a similar scenario to having one of the 5s in your ace hand. And it's because the king's chance of getting the 10 or the jack was exactly, not exactly, but it's the same probability as getting the 5 from your ace. Except if we imagine, let's say, instead of the ace, we have a king, and we're looking at where a 10, where a jack, right? It's the exact same probability table as shown earlier. So we've just dropped our probability from 5 and 9 to 1 and 3 because we have the 10 in our hand. The 10 becomes a nerf to our hand. This turns into a pass hand. I can't call with this. I'm not going to get the 10 because it's fodder. I'm not going to get the jack because it's 1 and 3. I'll get the 5. But that's not enough. That's not enough to call. This hand is useless. Unless you pass, opponent calls in clubs, basically free win. Not free win, but you know what I mean. We're going to be looking at a dynamic duo. Ace and king in the same hand. The king used to be a little wimp in hand because they didn't have the ace to go with it. You'd have to worry about when's the ace going to pop out. I'm going to lose a 5 now. Ace is right here for him. Right? All of the king's downsides are gone. Once you play the ace, the king is the highest card. Once you play the king, the ace is the highest card. You get to go highest. You get to go first twice, which is 3 times because you play ace first, king first, and you go first again because you just claimed. These sorts of hands you can call very high with. Right now, for me personally, I think it's a little too risky to go double digits because for double digits we need both 5s, and if we looked at that 5 and 9 table again, there was only one scenario where our teammate got both 5s. So, one scenario in 9 scenarios, 1 in 9 chance. It's not going to cut it, but we can increase our probabilities. This hand, I call 7 with, but if we start adding more cards, 3, 4, this is looking more promising. Why is it looking more promising? You're still dealing with a 1 in 9 chance. The difference is, the longer the hand, the faster your opponent's bust, right? Your opponent's busting is a key to this ace-king power hand type of scenario. Because the faster your opponent's bust, right, you can start off with ace, boom, follow up to the king. If you have enough cards, your opponent might even bust here. That's 3 5s, right? And this probability increases for every card we have. Let's add the 2 in there. Someone's going to have a 2-card hand, chances are. you're getting that 11. You're getting that 12 even because of the 2. And for that, I'll say power hands and stall hands are the 2 hands which are most sort of benefited from having more cards. Power hands have a sort of stall hands because the more cards you have, the more protection for your 5. Power hands, it's sort of more cards for me, less cards for you. So you've got to account for that. Right. One more hand type, which it's a very unique one. Let's go something like something like this. All right, hands like this, you've got to think more about what's in your opponent's hand than what's in your hand. First thing I've noticed is that I have no ace and no 2. No ace, no 2. No 2 there. This has locked me out of an immediate 7 points. 14 minus 7. So, firstly, our max call is 7. Very sad, but that's the situation we're in. But, let's think about this again. Ace or 2. My teammate could have ace or 2. It's just like that table again. We're looking at another 56% chance, right? Slightly higher because of slightly higher because it was an underestimate, right? Ace 2. Chance of my teammate having ace, 1 in 3. Chance of my teammate having 2, 1 in 3. In total, it's a 5 in 9 chance of my teammate having either. Seems like a pretty good deal. Let's throw an extra point in there, just because these are both guaranteed points. And I've got a pretty solid chance of getting one of them. Our calls just become 8 with a 7 hand. Not even a 7 hand. This I'd call 6 with this, but we've turned it into 8. King or queen gets a 5. Jack's got enough sort of sustainability, 4 cards to make it. 10. Let's say that our opponent pops the 5. Pops the ace, I mean, right? The opponent can either their teammate can either respond with a 5 or a 10, not both. Right? That's the key point, not both. So if we lose the 5, we get the 10. If we lose the 10, we get the 5. We're gonna get 8 points with this hand, even though it looks like complete fodder. That's about it. Not to be confused with this hand. King, Queen, Jack. This is outrageous. 6 hand. Because you don't have the 3 to tank the ace. There's a lot to think about with these hands, because not having the ace, you're kind of in the dark. But that's the fun of the hands. To spot the 5 and 9. It's a difficult task at first, but the more you do it, the more natural it becomes. Is there a 5 and 9 here? Yes. Right. Let's have a look. We've got 2 opportunities, right, to get the 5, which means we've got 2 5s here. And we're banking on our team having either ace or king. If he's got ace, our first 5 goes. If he's got king, second 5 goes, right? So that gives us a sort of exact same 5 and 9 table, but with ace and king. And our 5 is going to be like what the ace was before in the original 5 and 9 table. So the chance of us claiming a 5 with this hand is 5 and 9 on first turn. No, not on first turn. On the first 2 turns, roughly. But one caveat. Only one of those gets a point. Ace gets a point, king gets no point. So our king's still got to get a point from somewhere, while our ace doesn't. So if we call 6 with this, and our team has the ace, 1 in 3 chance that we get the 6. King, we're in trouble. So this double 5, if you're really feeling it, go 6. But otherwise, this is kind of a fodder hand. It's callable. I've called with it. I see most people call with it, but it's not something you can rely on. However, a hand you can rely on a little more is ace 5. Right? What are we thinking on this? 6? Pass? 11? Let's have a look. Ace does not get us 6 points this time because we've got that 5 and 9 issue turning into a 1 and 3 because our teammate can only hold 1 and 5. So we've got a 1 in 3 chance of this claiming a 5. And we've got 5. Rogue 5. This is a bit of a deeper 5 and 9 than usual. We have 5, ace. Our teammate could have king or 5. King facilitates the 5, 5 facilitates the ace. It's another 5 and 9, but it's a lot weirder this time. You'll get your 6 points, 5 and 9, but the 5 doesn't add anything to the hand. You call the exact same with ace as with ace 5. Do not bump it up, do not bump it down. I've seen people do both. Final hand. I'll just draw this one out. 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. Let's go with ace. These numbers are doing nothing for you because you don't have the sort of capabilities to make your opponent bust turn 1. You've only got 1 turn of them busting. It's not going to happen. It might happen. I don't think it will. So this is still a 7 hand, even though you have so much spares. Spares don't always buff your hand. Spares buff your hand when you either have 5s to sort of keep safe, or a massive push of power cards, ace, king. Ace, queen, if we swap 7 for a queen, this becomes a little more interesting. It's an 8 hand, but you're not going to get a 5 from your opponent busting, just because king also exists. Do not count on spares if your hand doesn't look like it is going to benefit from spares. Spares are always good. I'd rather have a spare than not. But some hands they buff more than others. You've got to keep that in mind. Every card does something different for every hand. So there's no sort of general principle for, let's say, the 4. The 4 will nerf a power hand, buff a stall. The 2 buffs every hand, except maybe a power hand. Maybe? I don't know. I think actually 2 is always good. 5, it's only going to be useful in a stall hand. Or if you're not calling. Usually the 5s are better in a support player's hand when you're not calling. If you have 5s in your hand, don't think you need to call or have any. Your teammate will have better than you if your hand relies on 5s.
So when you're calling, it's important to consider the stage of the game you're in. So at different stages of the game, you should be more or less risky. This is still somewhat a subject of debate, but there's a level of consensus. When you're losing, you need to be risky and call high. You don't have much to lose, and if your opponent calls higher than you and fails, their loss is greater. When you're winning, you should probably be a little bit more conservative. If you have a comfortable lead, it's better to let the opponents gain a few points than risk losing your advantage. However, importantly, it is considered bad manners to glide to a win and not call. So, what's next? This series will have quite a few more videos. Next, it'll be about opening playstyles. Thank you for watching.